So the first characteristics of DC series motor gives us practically the torque proportional to the square of armature current, which makes the starting torque of the DC series motor very high. So because of which I can use this kind of motor in a large load applications where I have to start with a greater load turned on it. Okay, and the best example is traction applications. Okay, like electric trains where the starting load itself will be very high and it has to be driven. Okay, so therefore these DC series motors are largely used in most of the traction applications. Okay, large traction applications, not small locomotives. In small locomotives, either a three-phase induction motor is used with the help of inverter and converter circuits, or a brushless DC motor is used. Brushless DC motor is a new, it is not a new, it is a old motor itself, but it has found its applications largely in uh, small electric vehicles. Okay, so traction application means large locomotives like trains, electric trains. Okay, and all the applications where we need um, larger torques or heavy loads are there. So the second um, characteristic is speed or armature current characteristics. Speed armature current characteristics. NIA. Okay. So the same equation will be used. Speed is directly proportional to EB upon phi. Speed is directly proportional to EB upon phi. Now here, what is EB? EB is V minus IA into RA plus RAC. This is a series motor. I should not forget that RAC is in series with armature current. So EB will be after the drop across RAC with current IA and across RA with current IA. So EB will be V minus IRAC minus IRA. So that will be V minus IA into RA plus RAC. Okay. And here, and this phi is proportional to IA. And this phi is proportional to IA. Okay. Again, as RA and RAC are very minimum. Now, how I keep RAC minimum? Why should I keep RAC minimum? We have discussed that since the series winding is carrying full armature current, I should keep RAC minimum to minimize the copper losses. But how do I keep RAC minimum? We have discussed in the construction or in the types of DC motors that I can use less number of turns with large cross-section conductor. Okay, less number of turns means how many turns? 2 turns, 3 turns, or 4 turns. Less 2 is less than 3, 1 is less than 2. Okay, so like that. So the number of turns in the series field winding depends upon the saturation point of the field. Now flux is proportional to IA into TSC. Number of turns in series field multiplied by series field current, ampere turns. So this is what ampere turns. Flux is always proportional to ampere turns. Like current is proportional to voltage, flux is proportional to ampere turns. So I can't have control over IA because IA is decided by the load. If I go on increasing the load, my IA go on increasing. It will go on increasing. And IA into TSC also goes on increasing, flux goes on increasing. So how to control it? Now I will be knowing what is the grand output of the motor. with known output of the motor, I can fix what is the maximum value possible that IA can flow in the armature circuit. Okay. Now suppose if the output of a motor is of 10 kilowatts operating at 200 volts, what will be my current? 10 kilowatt by 200 will be around 50 amperes. Okay. So I know the armature current in DC series motor is 50 amperes. Okay. Now suppose the 5 sat occurs. Okay. Suppose the 5 sat occurs after say 200 ampere turns. 5 set occurs after 200 ampere turns. Okay, then how many turns I can keep in TAC? At the max I can keep 3 turns, so that my ampere turns will be 150. Okay, 50 amperes current into 3 turns. Or if I want to take up to saturating point, I can keep 4 turns per pole. I am talking about per pole. Okay. Now with 50 into 4, 200 ampere turns, it is satisfied. After 200 ampere turns, it will be saturated. So this is how the number of turns in the series motor are decided. And also I should be giving some additional scope of turns for armature reaction also. Because of armature reaction, demagnetizing effect will occur. To magnetize or to neutralize the demagnetizing effect, I should increase the number of turns. I should add demagnetizing number of turns in the pole. Okay, so these all things are to be taken into account. When you study the design, this will come into the picture. Okay, so here what will happen? If I is proportional to IA, one thing. Second, my at rated voltages, at rated voltage, my IA into RA plus RAC. RAC is also a very small value, is much lesser than V. Therefore, V minus IA into RAC, IA into RA plus RAC is nearly equal to V, okay, and EB is nearly equal to V, and this is constant. So when you observe, back EMF is almost constant in every machine. Back EMF will not vary much. Back EMF will not vary much. Back EMF is almost constant in every machine, whether shunt, series, or compound. Therefore, I can write, therefore, speed is inversely proportional to flux. This is one of the very important relationship in DC motors. DC series motor or shunt motor, in both. It is important relationship in DC because based on this relation, there is one method of speed control. Okay. In turn, I can write speed proportional to inversely proportional to armature current, because phi is proportional to armature. Now, as the load increases, IA increases and speed decreases. Okay. But up to what value? Phi is proportional to IA only till magnetic saturation. Once it reaches magnetic saturation, my flux will remain constant, hence speed will remain constant. But because practically we don't operate in saturation region of the magnetic core, I will not worry much about the magnetic saturation hereafter. Okay. So here, as load increases, armature current IA increases. Okay. Therefore, speed decreases. Okay. So when we plot the characteristic, This is IA. This is the speed. The characteristics comes like this. It decreases. And once magnetic saturation occurs, it will remain constant after that. It will remain constant after that, like this. Okay. But there is a problem here in DC series motor. What the problem is, what if the motor is on no load and it is started? So here N is proportional to 1 over IA. Okay, N is proportional to 1 over IA. So at no load, what is IA? Is equals to 0. Because when armature is at no load, it will not draw any current from the supply, or it will draw very minimum current from the supply only to satisfy armature losses, which value is very low. Okay, if it is a 10 ampere motor, it may draw hardly 1 or 1.2 amperes of load current. Okay, so what will happen to the speed at no load? IA is equals to 0 ideally. Okay, ideally we can say ideally. Okay, and IA is minimum. IA is very small practically. Only no load current. No load current of DC motor is very small. Now what will be the speed? Therefore speed tend to increase to infinity. Okay, or speed rise to dangerously high value. Dangerously high value. Now you may ask, what is the problem if speed is very large? Okay, if the speed is very large, centrifugal forces will be very large. Okay, if this is the circular path of the motion, if speed is very large, then centrifugal forces acting outward radially will be very large. These large centrifugal forces beyond certain limit may make the conductors which are placed into the slots come out of the slots, and they may come in contact with the stator, which will permanently break down mechanically the motor. So it is not advisable to operate any machine at a speeds which are much beyond the rated value. Much beyond the rated value. Okay. So when it is mentioned, so many a times you have seen the generators and motors, the rated speed is 1500 RPM in our lab. So at the max, I can operate up to 2000 RPM. No issues. Nothing will happen with till that. But beyond that value is dangerous. Okay, the fixation may come out. The wire tags which are used to tie the overhang portion of the conductors may get loosened. Because of that, flyout of conductors may happen, or because of that, the bearings may experience excessive mechanical stress. They may break. Okay? So there are many mechanical what we can say difficulties arise when the speed is very dangerously high. But when the DC series motor is tried to operate at no load condition, no doubt the speed is very high. It is very, very, very high. Now what should I do? The thing is, I should never start a DC series motor at no load. Okay. Therefore, DC series motor should never be started. At no load. Okay. It should always be started. On some amount of load which will keep the speed of the motor in a safe value. Okay, so DC series motor should never be started at no load, but should be started with a load on it which can keep the speed of the DC motor at lower value. So this is all about the second characteristic, speed armature current. The third characteristic is a speed torque characteristic, which will follow speed armature current characteristic generally. Speed torque characteristic here. Okay. So here TA is proportional to Ia square. We have seen in characteristic 1 for series motor. Okay. And speed is inversely proportional to Ia in second characteristic. Or mathematically I can write Ia is inversely proportional to speed. Okay, therefore TA I can write is inversely proportional to square of the speed. So this characteristic will be same as that of speed armature current characteristic. As the speed increases, torque decreases, or as the torque increases, speed decreases. So here torque and speed are inversely proportional. And inversely proportional. Okay. So also this is evident that in the first characteristic we have seen that the starting torque of DC motor is very high. Okay. Starting torque of DC series motor is very high. So what does it mean? At starting the speed is very low, torque is very high. Okay. So at low speeds torque is high, at high speeds torque is low. Okay. Inversely proportional. Therefore the characteristic goes like this. This is torque, this is speed. Okay. So at lower torque, speed is high. At higher torque, speed is less. So you can say this as a TST and this as the rated speed. At starting torque, speed is very less at the starting point of the motor. Okay. Then as the motor starts, okay, the speed increases, torque decreases. Okay. So what I can conclude from these characteristics? So conclusions is first point from the first characteristic, as TA is proportional to Ia square, starting torque is high. Starting torque is high. Second point, as the speed is inversely proportional to Ia, okay, as speed is inversely proportional to Ia, series motor should not be started with no load, at no load. Okay, Ia is equals to 0. Okay, Or before that, we can also conclude here, as IA varies with load, DC series motor is also known as variable speed motor, DC motor. DC series motor is variable speed DC motor. On the contrary to the DC shunt motor. DC shunt motor is constant speed DC motor. Okay. Then third point, as speed is inversely proportional to phi and which is inversely proportional to IA, it should not be started at no load. Should not be started at no load. There should be always a sufficient amount of load connected to the DC series motor at the time of start, which will keep the speed in a very safe zone, in a very safe value, with a very safe value. Okay, it is not any arbitrary load which is satisfying the load requirement. No, the load on the DC series motor should be in such a way at the time of start that it will limit the speed well within the safe value. Okay, an example I will share you in the power electronics laboratory, which you conduct in forthcoming fifth semester. There is an experiment on a universal motor. Universal motor is nothing but a DC series motor. Okay, generally it is a DC series motor. When you conduct certain experiment on that, you observe when you give just 60 volts DC, which is a 220 volt DC series motor, at 60 volts, the no load speed of the DC series motor is around 3000 RPM. Now just guess, what if you give full 220 volts DC? We have seen various motors in our lab. All are shunt motors, which are connected as prime movers in all generating experiments what you have done. There at 220 volts, the speed was much less than 1500 RPM. We increased the speed by varying the field rheostat to 1500 RPM. Now, if a DC series motor can run at 3000 RPM at almost 1/4 of its full voltage, then what would be the speed at full voltage? It is dangerously very high. Okay, so therefore it should never be started on no load. It should always be started with a load such that the speed is well within the safe limit. So these are the conclusions that we derive from the DC series motor characteristics. Any doubt so far?
No, sir.
Okay. So next we'll see briefly the characteristics of DC compound motor. Now DC compound motor is having both fields. It is having both the fields. It is having series field as well as shunt field. Okay, so there is a flux phi SE and flux phi SH. Flux phi SE and flux phi SH. And always DC compound motors are either cumulatively compounded or differentially compounded. Either it can be a cumulatively compounded short shunt or differentially compounded short shunt, or cumulatively compounded long shunt or differentially compounded long shunt. So either it can be cumulative compound or differential compound always. Either of the two should be there. It can't be without the two. If it is not there without the two, either it will become series or shunt motor in the specialty. Okay. So a compound motor can be a cumulatively compounded or differentially compounded. Or differentially compounded. Okay. Now, what does this cumulative and differential compounding means? Now, because there are two fluxes existing. Okay. So, the total working flux, the resultant flux is always the effective value of both the fluxes. Okay. The working flux in compound motor is effective value of series and shunt flux. Series and shunt flux. Now, if the effective value is addition of these two fluxes, then it is called cumulatively compounded machine. Now, if effective value is addition of phi SC and phi SH, this motor is known as cumulatively compounded motor. Cumulatively compound. Now, if effective value is difference of phi SC and phi SH, it is differentially compound. That is, if series and shunt flux will aid each other, that is cumulatively compound. If they oppose each other, that is differentially compound. Okay. Because the total flux, okay, it has got both the windings of series and shunt field. The characteristic of compound motor will be the combination of series and shunt field characteristics. Okay. So here, characteristic of compound motor is a combination of series and shunt field characteristics. Series and shunt motor characteristics. Okay. So first I will look into torque armature current characteristics. I will take the short forms. The only point to dislike this digital pad is drawing. It's very difficult to draw nice diagrams. On board, it would have been so easy to draw anything. Okay. So let this be IA. This is T. Now, I will draw a First, I will draw the shunt field characteristic. We know the torque is linearly varying with armature current in shunt motor. So this is shunt motor. And torque is squarely varying in series motor. Now, in compound motor, so here I will write briefly, TA is proportional to IA in shunt. TA is proportional to IA square in series. Now, what about in cumulative compound motor? TA is proportional to IA plus ISC in cumulative, and TA is proportional to IA difference ISC in differential. Okay. So therefore, in cumulatively compounded machine, the torque will be higher than shunt motor, but lower than series motor. In differential compound, the torque will be lower than series motor and lower than shunt motor. Okay, so this observation is important. These equations, these are important equations. So here I will draw in a cumulative compound. Observe, in a cumulative compound, the torque is proportional to addition of two currents. Therefore, it will be more than shunt, but less than series. It will be like this, somewhere like this. So this is cumulative. Then in differential, it will be less than shunt because it is a in shunt it is proportional to IA. In differential compound, less than it is IA in the RHS. So which color should I choose here now? Let me choose purple. So this is for differential. Okay. So these are the characteristic of DC compound motor. DC compound motor. Always it will be drawn in relation with series and shunt motor. Okay. But in the notes it is not with multicolors. Because I can use multicolors, I chose there in the notes it is with the different dotted lines and dash lines and all those things. Okay, in the updated notes. The second characteristic, I will just push it. The second characteristic is speed armature current characteristic. Speed armature current characteristic. Again, we will follow the same thing. First, we will draw for the shunt and series. Okay. happened? It went away. So is it visible, whatever I am writing?
Yes, sir.
So for shunt motor, oh my God, what is happening here? Why it is getting erased? Sorry, this is speed n. Okay, so for shunt motor, the speed is fairly remaining constant with respect to the armature current, and for series motor, it is decreasing. This is for shunt, okay, and for series, the speed is decreasing. This is for series. Okay. So because n is inversely proportional to phi, okay, which is inversely proportional to ISH, which is constant, okay, for shunt. Now here, n is inversely proportional to phi SC, that is inversely proportional to IA, okay. So this is for series, which is decreasing with respect to the armature current. Now n is inversely proportional to phi SC plus phi SH. This is in cumulative. Now n is inversely proportional to difference of phi SC and phi SH. This is in differential. Now observe in cumulative, the denominator is more, therefore the speed is less. Okay? The denominator is more, the speed is less. So what does this mean here is, the speed curve of a cumulative compound motor, the speed curve of a cumulative compound motor is lesser than shunt field but greater than series field. So this is cumulative. Whereas the denominator in the differential motor is difference of two fluxes. Okay, so it will be greater than shunt field. So in the shunt field, speed is inversely proportional to phi SH. Now in differential compound motor, speed is inversely proportional to phi SH minus something else. So therefore denominator is decreasing than phi SH. Therefore the ratio should be greater than 1 over phi SH. Therefore the differential motor will be having a speed greater than shunt field. Okay, so this is differential. Okay. The third characteristic is speed versus torque, which will generally follow the speed versus armature current. Speed torque characteristic. Okay. So which will follow the speed armature current characteristics. So this is speed and this is torque. So with respect to torque, the speed remains constant in shunt motor, almost fairly constant, not exactly constant. Shunt. It will be decreasing in series. This is in series, where speed will be greater than shunt field motor in differential, and it will be lesser than shunt field in cumulative. These are cumulatively component. So these are the characteristics of DC compound machines. Okay. So when it is asked in the examination to discuss the characteristic of DC compound motor, please remember you should be using the equations of DC series and shunt motors briefly. Write 1 or 2 points with respect to DC series motors. Then you have to write for DC compound motor. Directly, if you write only these 3 characteristics of compound motor, then it is not fully acceptable for full marks. Okay, many times students will make this mistake. Okay, so any doubts so far?
No, sir.
Okay. So with this, we'll end today's session. Okay.